Hello friends and fellow NIO Stock investors. In this video I want to talk about what is currently a fair share price for NIO Stock. And this is going back to a question that was asked in my Patreon community. So Alan, if you're watching this video is for you because you have asked me to do a scenario, a case for NIO reaching 180,000 sales in 2023. So you may know my Excel sheet here with those different scenarios. I've shown this a couple of times in videos before because I'm usually really not about hyping the stock and just putting price targets out of a hat. Instead, I really want to put numbers on each of these cases and probabilities, and also say what are the underlying assumptions. And I see that with the current sales trajectory that we've seen in the monthly, in the weeklies and so on, people do think that 180,000 deliveries might be a very plausible target right now. So let's use this one now as a base case and see what is a fair price based on this assumption right now. So as you can see, scenario 1 to 7 are different scenarios which I've explained in previous videos, like how likely I think they are and what kind of a stock price we would get with that. And my basic assumption was always that, NIO is now flipping the trajectory, and thereby investors need to stop discounting the stock for a slight or downward trend in growth. Instead, it's the opposite case. And now the question is just how steep is this increase in sales, right? So let's go with 180,000 sales for 2023, which I think is a fair assumption, to be honest. And for this case, I actually made 3 new cases to give you a little bit of a range again. And then the idea is that you also can, put your probabilities, your likelihood on each of these cases and see which way you want to go with. So the case number 8 here is that NIO is growing to 180,000 sales, but it's making discounts in order to do so. Like now we have this price war going on in China, and even though that NIO has adjusted its pricing strategy, we now see new discounts with Tesla. Li Auto has joined discounts a little bit. We have seen discounts with Zeekr, Xiaopeng, many other brands have to join this. So it's maybe fair to assume that NIO also has to maybe give a little bit of the under the hood discounts, which we don't really see. And that could result in a low average sales price, maybe $50,000 per car sold. And that would be historically low because NIO would usually average around $55,000. But with now the ET5 and the ES6 taking up the largest bunch of sales, and these are lower cost models, plus these discounts might be a way to think about. But there is also an argument that, for example, the ES8, which is just getting launched now, is a very, very high priced vehicle. So maybe this could also put the averages up a little bit. But anyways, let's assume here very low ones, then revenues 9 billion and a price to sales multiple of only 2. So this would be a very low multiple. Currently, I made another video about that. We are again in this risk-off phase because of what's going on with the Fed, and the US rates are up there, and therefore risk assets, just as Chinese stocks, crypto assets, unprofitable tech, all of them have come down again. So we are in this current cycle, mini cycle there, and therefore applying a low multiple here, that would get us to a market cap of 18 billion, and that would equal with the outstanding shares at a share price of $11. So that's currently where we are with the share price, more or less. One could say anything below $11 would be counted undervalued, and therefore would be a buyable opportunity there. But you can also see that this is a quite conservative case in a way, assuming moderate growth, low average sales prices, and a very low market multiple. We could also say a little bit more of an optimistic case, that, for example, the average sales prices stay up higher. Maybe the sales prices have been quite low in the recent past because of the discounts which they had made for transitioning to NT 2.0 platform, so getting rid of the old inventory. And as I said, maybe the ES8 provides a nice boost now to the average sales prices. Again, could happen. And so with the same price to sales multiple, that would rather give us a stock price target of 12 USD. And that again would hint a little bit of an upside here in NIO Stock as of now. Now, I also want to leave you with a more optimistic scenario, and I'll also give you a reason for why this might be the case. So let's say NIO grows, the average sales prices are kind of normal, so I took like the middle way here. It's always good to have a max case, a minimum case, and a likely case, and that would be the likely case for the average sales prices, right? And a multiple of 4. That would give us a target of $22. So you can see almost $23. You can see that the range is quite big here. And that's because the multiple is, just so, important here. And as I've said, like we're currently on this downtrend here in the multiples that the market is giving. But I also pointed out that the USD might roll over. I pointed out how the interest rates the yields may actually come down because it seems like the US dollar wrecking ball around the world, and the Fed decisions to keep on hiking are just not super healthy for the world economy, right? At some point, they may have to reverse. And so that would provide this upside in the multiple, because if we look at those historic multiple numbers here for NIO, you can see I pointed this white line in here, which is kind of just a visual average where NIO has been trading at in the past, and that's exactly the 4 multiple. So we are currently quite low here, similar to the lows as when NIO went bankrupt. And this has to do with the overall macro factors that I've just pointed out, but also because maybe investors are still worried about a potential bankruptcy of NIO. Some may say, well, the likelihood that they make it are not very high. So this is possibly what the shorts are still also betting on, that NIO is not gonna make it, and therefore this enterprise to sales multiple is actually staying quite low currently. But I think there is a very plausible case for it to be expanding to a multiple of 4 again. And this, again, gives us this large range here of a $23 fair value stock price based on 180,000 deliveries. They may actually be even higher than that, but of course, careful, they also may come in lower than 180,000 vehicles, and in that case, I think we also need to make more pessimistic stock price targets. So I hope you found this exercise valuable, giving you a little bit of a range here, something to think about. Now it's your task to kind of think about what you think is likely or not, but based on this very, let's say, simplistic way of talking about NIO stock price projections, I hope you got some insights. Of course, there's much more to it if you're doing actual analyst work and go deep into discounting the future cash flows and whatever not. But I think most of the time you get, with 20% of the efforts, you get 80% right. So that should be enough for now. Thanks for watching, and see you in my next video.